and welcome to the very first Women in Crypto. So, the focus of this show is to provide value and insight into cryptocurrency, finance, investing, and everything that we wish we knew a whole lot sooner. So, to start, we're just going to introduce ourselves. So, I'm Halie. I'm 23 years old. I just got into the crypto space maybe 3 months ago working with SmartFi, and I'm the social media manager.
I'm Tovar, and I've been passionate about crypto since 2015. I have been with SmartFi for a year managing our community.
And I am Michelle. I have been involved with crypto professionally since 2014, and I'm head of the customer support and experience team at SmartFi.
And I'm Keriann, and I've been involved in crypto 0 days. So that's what's so exciting. Zero space, 0 days. I know nothing, so I would represent maybe a lot of mainstream America. So yeah, there we go.
And that's what's going to make it so perfect, Keriann, because you're brand new. So you have a lot of questions that you're like, okay, where do I start? How does this thing work? So I guess to kick off, like Tovar and Michelle, they're veterans in this. They've been doing this for years and years. So I guess the first question to ask is, at what point did you realize crypto was something special? It was like, well, I have to get on this.
Different.
Yeah. At what point?
I think I just kind of heard about it, started researching it, but I really didn't get involved until 2017. And that's when the price went up significantly. It was also a point when I was trying to switch money from one account to another, and my bank put limitations on me and spending my own money and where it was going. And, I had to wait so many hours before my own money would go where I wanted it to go. So that really inspired me to just kind of up it and get really into finding out, what is crypto? How do I start? And what does it mean for my future?
Yeah, for me, I was a finance major in college and always kind of a geek, a little bit of a nerd. I had heard of digital currencies long before Bitcoin was a thing. E-gold, I kind of knew that story and stuff. And I was visiting home for Christmas in 2012, and my father, who is also a bit of a geek and finance junkie, said, "Hey, check out this Bitcoin thing." And he sent me the white paper, which is way over my head mathematically. But if you get through the first two paragraphs, none of the math part it just doesn't matter. My jaw hit the floor, and I was hooked. I was hooked on, but I changed my life right then, that moment when I read the white paper.
So what about the white paper?
I think for me, because I care so much about how money works, and because I have a family, and anything that interferes with my money interferes with how I get to spend it, raise my family, plan for my future. And the very first thing you learn about Bitcoin is that you're in control. It's literally, for the first time ever since people were trading chickens and apples, your money. With nothing between you and it. And for me, that was just, that was huge. That was it. My jaw literally, I read those first two paragraphs and it changed everything for me. Everything from where I save, how I spend, and my retirement plans, and it changed everything.
How big would you say, Michelle, like thinking through that and hearing you say that, it makes me kick myself like 10 years ago, right? It makes me want to kick myself in the tail end. But realistically, because I'm still like 0 days in, I literally have nothing on crypto. I have nothing in crypto yet. And so I want to know from my perspective, like 10 years forward, right, where you're at 10 years ago.
You're still early though.
I know it's not too late. I know we're not there to that stage where, we're like lighting bombs off and things like that. But I'm just saying, I want to know from your stage where you're at now, how has it changed your life? Like you said that it's changed my life a ton, but I want to know how. Like I feel like it's important for people to understand that exactly how.
Well, like ignoring that I quit my job and literally decided to devote all of my professional time being involved in crypto because I believed in it so much. I sold every stock I had. I emptied my 401k. I bought crypto that very first day. Actually, let me take that back because that is not true. Back then, 10 years ago, buying crypto was extremely, excruciatingly painful. It was not an easy thing to do. You had to download anyway, it was this really long drawn out process that actually took days for you to be able to buy any kind of Bitcoin back then. And
Wow.
so for me,
Jeez.
yeah, and so for me, it actually wasn't about is this thing going to go up in US dollar value because there was no such thing as a crypto exchange back then. So for me, it was, do I believe at some point in the future, this, and by this I mean Bitcoin in particular at the time, is going to change the way people view money? And I absolutely believed it was. And so for me, it was the very first thing I did was allocate a certain percentage of what I was doing for savings at the time. I had a couple of kids. I knew they might want to go to college one day, maybe. I thought I might want to not work until I die. So I
Right.
had,
That's where I am at.
yeah. So I was like, how much do I believe in this?
Right.
And how much am I willing to of myself to invest my energy, my evangelism, and my retirement? How much faith do I have in this? So I decided right at that moment, I started out immediately putting about 10% of my monthly savings into Bitcoin right then.
Just based off of a hope, right? Just based off of a thought process that you felt, maybe not hope, but just a
No,
financial
I mean,
future for you that you could
yes,
see forward.
I could look at this. I could read I understood why then, why Bitcoin then. There had been digital currencies proposed and attempted long before then. I mean, Bitcoin certainly was not the first, but I understood why Bitcoin was different. The non-custodial, meaning you own it, that there's nothing between you and else. The transparency that's available once you understand that by copying and pasting an address, you can literally go watch every transaction anybody ever does.
Yeah.
And the fact that I didn't have to ask anyone's permission, and it took seconds for me to send money. I mean, there were other things because I was a finance major that really meant a lot to me. Back then, you had to go jump through hoops to invest in companies, and this is the age of the internet when anybody could start a company in their living room, and I was one of those people. I had a very small company, but I couldn't get the family funds for me was, yeah, sure, I'll invest $100 or $1,000 into your company. The
Right.
family round wasn't $100,000. But you can't invest in back then. You couldn't invest in companies that way. You were just lending people money. This was different. This was a recorded on a blockchain transaction of somebody putting, their money, their wealth, their faith into my company, and they could watch that happen. There was no dollar value for me. It was all about the philosophy of being able to
Wow.
support a company in a third world country if that's what I wanted to do. I mean, this was the internet. I was talking to people in, Malaysia back then who wanted to start work at home companies but didn't know how to raise money. And I'm thinking, this is how you do it. Forget
Yeah.
it. This is
Yeah.
how you do it. This is how you empower businesses all over the world without asking the SEC's permission. You can invest in a company. So yeah, for me,
Right.
it was very much a global change about how I viewed what was possible with money now.
And
No
all
more
that it took for you to get to that stage was reading the
reading the
white
white.
paper.
Yeah, that was it.
That's
Wow.
amazing. What about you, Tovar? How has your life
Well,
changed since the day you decided, I'm going to jump into this?
I think it's first important, a white paper. Sometimes you're like, what is a white paper? What does that even mean?
Ah,
I
good
would
point.
say
Yeah.
it's similar to the terms and conditions of a bank. So, how does it work? Where does my money go? And if you think about it, a lot of us don't read those when we should. And we should know where our money comes from, what it is, how it's evolved over time. And so for me, ever since I kind of started going down that rabbit hole, it really changed my life and the way I even spend my money now. And where I put it. And, you know, I've heard somebody say over and over, you know, if you skip Starbucks or cut anything, just something out of your spending, you can put it towards Bitcoin little by little. And that on its own is what you call dollar cost averaging, which is something that you'll hear a lot of in how you can get into crypto safely. But for me, it really changed my life when I was able to start working from home. So I'm a work from home mom, and nothing is better than being able to be home and be a part of your kids' lives every day, all day, instead of, you know, daycare or school. When it becomes that time, I guess I'll, you know, that's another story. But I think it comes down to just even, you know, why weren't we taught more about money and finances in school? It's just once you start asking yourself those questions, it really makes you eager to learn more.
Yeah, it makes you feel like this system, we're all supposed to have faith in it, the dollar, and we don't even know. Like, I just now started researching like about what is the dollar. Guys, I thought, and I think they told me this in school, okay, that it was backed by gold. I thought it still was. I just now realized, wait a second. No, they're just printing these things. It's like weird. We're supposed to have like blind faith in it.
That's huge to understand that. So for me, it's far more ideological. I was involved in politics for a really long time. And for me, it was the understanding that not only are they just printing it, but the value of the dollar in the rest of the world comes from the fact that they're going to tax you and your kids and your grandkids forever. That is the only value behind the US dollar, is the promise that you and your children will be taxed in perpetuity forever and ever. Amen. So the government will always have this flow of funds. And I thought, what a horrifying realization. Not only do they take it, you know, without you seeing it right out of your paycheck, and you have you have almost no say in how it's spent, but there's no plan to make it more efficient, to make it better, for the people who are earning it. And that's another thing you hear, and Keriann, like, I am going to be the most idealist on the panel, because for me, I almost don't care what the US dollar value is of Bitcoin, or even of SMTF. I really almost don't care. I'm not selling, right? Like, my plan is to never sell my Bitcoin. My plan is to be able to use Bitcoin.
Sure. Right.
Whoa, wait, so you're not taking profits? Like, you don't want US dollars at all?
Absolutely not. Why would I want to?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I would like, I worked for many years getting paid in Bitcoin. I didn't get paid in fiat. I got paid in Bitcoin. Now, obviously, I'm invoicing in a fiat amount, but I was getting the Bitcoin equivalent for many years. As a part-time gig, I just, for 7 years, I got paid in Bitcoin.
Do you have a full Bitcoin?
Nice try, Fed. No.
That's great.
Yeah, one Bitcoin is forever worth one Bitcoin. One Satoshi is forever worth one Satoshi. Now, if your goal is to make some fiat profit, I have no problem with that. Crypto is an economy. It's not just a thing. It's not just this instrument. It's a full-on economy. So it needs earners and savers and spenders and investors, and if you decide that earning some fiat gains is what you're in it for, great. I'm glad you have that opportunity. Me, I'm in it so that one day I don't have to spend fiat.
For me, here I am, single mom, 5 little kids, like doing my thing every day, just busting my can. to make $1, right? Like I owned a cleaning company for 3 years and I busted my can to have that up and running 80 hours a week, working super hard. And guess what?
Jeez.
COVID pandemic comes along and it wipes the legs right out from under me. And there's nothing that I can do to gain that back as a single mom that busted my tail to be able to have a better life for my kids going forward. Right. And so for you to sit there and to say, hey, by the way, there's this different like thought process. There's a different path. There's a different way. If you just paid attention and stayed woke, or if you just woke up and paid attention, or even got yourself to a place where you're educated enough or where you understand enough about what Bitcoin is or what cryptocurrency is. Because for me, even working with a tech company, in my brain, cryptocurrency is just this idea. It's like there's nothing tangible about it. So it makes me feel in a way that it's unstable or that it's unsafe or that it's volatile and something that's not, because we're taught mainstream America or just mainstream people to just trust in things that we can tangibly see, that's printed on paper, even if it doesn't have dollar, gold backing it, but I can see this $100. So this means that it's worth something. Right?
And that's the biggest barrier. That's the biggest barrier for everyone who get into it. They read headlines. And I will say this, when I very, very first got into working professionally in crypto, I was doing marketing. That's what I was doing back then in the beginning. And the reason I chose marketing as my way to get in, I could have gotten in many other ways. They're, crypto companies, is because back then it was the developers doing the marketing. And God bless them, but they are the worst marketers on the planet. So they're out there using all their glory, proclaiming and professing their love for this cryptographic protected public blockchain, which is, and I'm like, oh my God, scared everyone.
Why do you think I didn't put any money into it?
Right, absolutely no. So you are not alone. Even to this day, I get people to come up to me or online who are like, no crypto for me. It's not backed by anything. It's people steal it all the time. And it's Bitcoin's been hacked 1,000 times. And it doesn't make any sense. It's not, I don't know how it works. My answer has been from the very beginning, and this has been adopted kind of across the marketing spaces. Yeah, but you also put a key in your car every day. And you drive that sucker all over and you pack your most precious possessions, your children, into it. And you trust that it's going to get you from A to B, but you have no idea what happens. Most people have no idea what happens after you turn that key, right? It needs gas. The car is the perfect analogy for crypto in particular, because it needs fuel. It needs, somebody to initiate a thing, turning a key, and that the purpose of using it is to get to a destination. What if I told you crypto is exactly the same thing? It is a tool that uses fuel to get you where you want to go. And you don't need to know anything about cryptographic 256, you don't need to know about how it's encrypted. You don't need to understand how a blockchain is generated. You don't even need to know what mining is.
Yeah. So did you want to tell us again, Tovar? Why don't you tell us what a blockchain is? Like, right?
Right.
What the crap is a blockchain? Like, you're saying words that to me, I'm like, Kate,
but that's what I'm saying.
Like,
all you need to know is it's your ticket out.
No, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong, because that's what stops people. They're like, what is cryptography and what is 256 Sean? But and the reality is you want to know those things. They will become interesting to you. But in the beginning, what you need to know is it's a vehicle, it's a tool, it's money. And it does the same thing your other money does, but better.
What do you think, the fact that we can't see it, like Keriann and I, like it's not like $1. We can't physically touch it. And as women in general, it's like because it's more risky or it feels less secure or less stable. That's why there's such a discrepancy between men in the space and investing in cryptocurrency and women.
Halie, do you have $1 right now?
I do.
Or do you use your debit card? Do you use your debit card? Okay. Well, your
Get her,
debit card
Tovar.
is the same thing. Sure, you can hold it, but what's behind it?
Well, and do
I
you use
thought
PayPal?
gold.
Do you use PayPal? You can't touch PayPal. I mean, you can log into a website, but you've been using PayPal. Sorry, not you, young one. People have been using PayPal for like, more than a decade. I mean, 15, I don't even know how old PayPal is. And you use your online banking app to move money around. People have been using digital money for 60, 70 years since the first credit card was issued. Now, if you want to hold Bitcoin, I will show you how to print Bitcoin physically. And you can hand me some.
Oh,
Physically,
okay, print it.
here. You see this?
No, what is that?
It's a wallet.
It's a wallet. It's a
I
wallet.
mean, yeah, like
If you
this
need
is a
something you
wallet.
can
What?
hold, this is a wallet.
That's cold storage, meaning she physically is holding her Bitcoin in her hand. I have cold storage as well. Physically.
Can you physically take that storage that you have in your hand and go spend it? Like you can't
Yeah,
go to a
good
store
question.
and buy stuff, right?
It has an app, right?
Yeah, it has an app.
Is this only for Bitcoin to get the crypto off, the Bitcoin off, or any cryptocurrency you can print
There's
off?
different wallets that have different cryptocurrencies that you can store. You just have to figure out which wallets the crypto that you have, aligns up with. But yeah, there is an app. I think, Halie, you have a Mac, and there is an app on there. This is just one of many different kinds of wallets. So they have different sizes for, however much you want to store. You can have multiple wallets. There's even paper wallets. You can have a piece of paper and have that in your safe. You can pay with crypto also. I have an online store and I accept crypto.
Okay, I have a question. I'm kind of feeling a little mind blown right now. Like I'm a little bit. So here's the question I have for you. And I want both of you to answer in your own thought process. But because this is a question I had when I started thinking through this process of cryptocurrency, moving into cryptocurrency. And Tovar and I actually chatted last week a little bit. And I told her, look, I've got these CDs at the bank and they're earning 0.07% interest, on my kids. And I have one for each of my 5 kids so that they have savings when they get a little older. Their CDs, they mature in 6 years, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, that's great, Carrie. Like, good job. Way to go. Woo! Putting $10 in that, $100 in that, whatever it is every month. But here's the question that I have for you. Where is the trust that you find in putting money into crypto? And then I want to know the difference between cryptocurrency and the stock market. Like why cryptocurrency instead of something that is familiar to me, like the stock market, that I can watch up and down and all over the place?
You can see the stock market and you can see the up and down. You can see the same thing with crypto. It's just maybe you're not familiar with where to go. There's plenty of places to go. But for one, the exchange you decide to use, wherever you purchase it from, it's going to show you the market. And you can see the markets based on Bitcoin to USD, and, or SmartFi to USD. It will show you what it's trading for, what it has traded for in the past. And you can look at all that just like you can look at on the stock market as well. The difference is let's say I buy a share of Apple or Amazon. I can't go to the store. I can't go online. I can't spend it, right? I would have to trade it first. Well, with cryptocurrency, you can spend it where it is accepted. You don't have to trade it back into USD just to spend it.
Oh.
So in that way, I would say it's better. But also it's, the stock market isn't a form of currency.
For just the average Joe like me that doesn't have any expertise or any background of trading and buying, what's the process? So first step is I have a desire and I think, I'm going to take all of that money and I'm going to clear it out of my kids' CDs and I want to go invest in crypto. So what do I do next? Since talking about even doing this, like 15 friends that have come to me and have said, where do I start? How do I, and I'm like, I don't know. Let me find out.
The very first thing you do would be to find an exchange. Now, I may be biased, but I would recommend the SmartFi exchange because I find it very user friendly. It's easy to use, especially for someone that's just starting. And you don't have to start with anything big. If you want to do $25, $50, just use that and watch it over a week just to see what it does. And therefore you can see on your own that you're able to see it live anytime. You know, the stock market operates only between certain hours of the day, and it doesn't operate on the weekends. Cryptocurrency does. So you can watch it live. I would say, you know, this is just me. I wouldn't touch it for a week. Just watch it. And from there, you'll kind of see, you know, how the news alone impacts crypto.
Yeah.
Especially the cryptocurrency you have. You know, if one is trending on Twitter, you'll see it go up or down depending on what the news is.
Sure.
So
Sure.
that would be the way that I would say to start. And the next step would be start learning about, you know, the use cases, and find a mentor online. You know, I'm sure there's plenty on TikTok. I know there's a lot on YouTube. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to sit there for hours, but learn a little bit each day as you check in to see where the money you invested is going. And that alone is a great starting place, I think.
And I would do things a little bit different. I think before you go open an account somewhere, I think you need to figure out, I always tell people, why do you want to get into crypto? Like, what is the reason? If it is a part of your long-term savings plan, part of your kids' college plan, part of your retirement plan, whatever, the process of planning for those things isn't different than it was before you ever heard about crypto. If you want to add crypto to your basket of retirement investments, then you go find a user-friendly thing. You make a plan to say, I'm going to put this much in. I would do a little research, like she said, on the use cases. This is one thing I tell people. You asked about the difference between the stock market and crypto. When it comes to making crypto part of your savings plan, you actually kind of want to do the same thing you would do before you bought a piece of stock, which is go look at what the company does. Go look at their reputation. If they're building something that you think is going to have value in 10 years, 20 years, you know, whatever, then that's where I would say, you know, maybe I'll throw a little bit of my monthly, you know, allotment that I've planned for crypto into this project or that project. For me, of course, it was not just about the fiat gains. She talks about looking at the market weekly or constantly. I would recommend the exact opposite, unless your plan is to also learn to become a trader, which is a very different thing than somebody who's getting into crypto. Watching the market can be a little nerve-wracking because it does swing wildly depending on what's going on in the news and depending on which crypto you're looking at. Some of them are very, you know, they don't move a lot, and they're not, you know, they're just something that the project is out there. They're not worried about the price of their token or whatever for the moment. But I think the why, understanding why you're getting in, what your end goal is, anything from I just want to learn and play to I want to learn to actually, you know, make gains regularly to I just want to make this a part of my plan. Or I heard about this project. It's a crypto project. I want to support them, because a lot of times buying a certain crypto is helping to fund that project or to fund their goals. And you know, that's just as much a part of a strategy as, you know, just throwing money and saying, oh, I heard about this crypto, it might be big and maybe I'll make 20% or 5% or 2%, all of which are more than you're making on your kids' CDs and in the bank account right now.
Yeah,
But again, yeah, well, that's my point. I actually try not to talk about gains too much. I talk about working crypto into what's important to you. Because the larger part of the reason people don't get into crypto is because they don't see it fitting into their lives. They're like,
Right.
who is this thing? And I say, you know, I bet you said that about email in 1990 or
True.
What, nobody,
True.
nobody go read the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times back from like 1990 to 93. The internet was going to fail. Email was garbage. Nobody was going to use it.
Y2K, the
Right.
turnover, the world's gonna combust. Like, yeah.
Right. People have to find ways that new technology, I mean, some of us on this call are old enough to remember life before cell phones and before pagers, and before PayPal. And so eventually
It was such a good life, wasn't it, Michelle?
it was so different. Like I can't even tell my children how different it was.
Talking on the phone
at
in your
some
bedroom
point,
and falling asleep on the phone with a cord and a wire and a dial and a line.
oh
on your
yeah,
face.
yeah. You wake up and you got these rings on your face. Yeah, no, I was there back in the day. Hey, talking to your boyfriend on the phone all night long.
And you could hear your parents go click, click, and listening in on
yes,
the same. And you're like,
or they
who's on the
unplugged you from the wall. Like,
Yeah.
10 o'clock.
I remember those days.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, all
Yeah.
technology has a curve of adoption, and it starts at the very bottom with the innovators, the people who are creating. And then there's the early adopters. But in the end, when you get to the bottom of that curve, it's like a bell curve. The people way down here are just they're the laggards, the late adopters. They have to find a way for it to fit in their life. And so I will tell you, with crypto, not Bitcoin, all crypto, including Bitcoin, we're still we're just past the innovator stage. We're still very much at the early adopter stage. The people that go out and buy that brand new makeup brand because it looks cool. We're there. Or the first people to buy a Tesla because it's some new technology that they're passionate about, right? They want to check out EVs because they're passionate about a problem that EVs solve. I was an early adopter of Bitcoin because it solved the putting somebody between me and my money problem, and then not being able to spend my money on things I wanted to without really somebody's permission. And if you think about it, it's so hard. The way I explained to my kids why my passions were so strong enough to change my life is that I realized every single financial transaction requires permission right now. Everyone. Pull out your debit card, your bank can say no at any time. Absolutely anytime. Try to send.
Guys, that seriously has happened to me so many times where I got denied.
Yeah, me too, because I was traveling. The bank's like, oh,
Yeah, same.
traveling.
It's not you.
Yeah,
And they're like, no,
Or
you
your
don't get
protection.
access.
it sounds
Right.
like security, right? It sounds like a smart thing to do, but the reality
Or
is,
control your money.
yeah,
That's
and
yours.
it's so many things like that. Not being able to invest in a company in Nigeria, not being able to support that prince who's been begging me for help for 20 years. So when the internet became a thing, we became a much smaller world in many, many, many ways.
True.
And it was so exciting for me in the beginning because my first hard obsession with the internet was when I was pregnant. And I instead of reading what to expect when you're expecting, I went to mothering.com. And I talked live almost. It wasn't live back then. Chat was not a thing back then. But message board with other moms who were at that very moment in the exact same position I was in. And so for me, that my trust in the internet wasn't because it was this newfangled thing and things were faster and whatever. It was because it connected me to people experiencing what I was experiencing, or explaining to me things that I had never experienced, explaining what that was like, showing me, holding up a camera and showing me. And I think crypto just took that one step further. Meeting a mom in Malaysia who wanted to start a cloth diaper company, but didn't have friends and family to help raise funds, gave her a venue to do that. Crypto is just that next step.
That's amazing. So I love that when Tovar said that we've been doing currency, like digital currency, for a long time, right? Because to me, that's what she mentioned that the other day, just in a conversation, and I was like, holy cow, if I brought that to my parents, right? Say my mom and dad, who are so scared, they're scared to death of anything that looks like it could be taken, violated by anyone, stolen, anything like that. They're scared of those things. And for me, I have been too, because there's not a lot of knowledge behind what it is or how it's traded or how it's tracked and all of those things. And so for me, having her say that the other day, I was like, wait, my dad pays with his credit card and debit card every time. Every time,
right.
a debit card. There's no cash. There's no currency in between that. So attaching those two and recognizing that, look, cryptocurrency is just digital currency. It's the same thing. Like, it's the same. You're already using that. It's already something that's being used, right? I think that that's super powerful as well.
I think one of the things also, and it's one of the points I make very, very early on when I'm trying to educate people about crypto, is people are like, oh, billions and billions of dollars have been hacked and stolen.
Sure.
Bitcoin has been hacked. Ethereum has been hacked. And what I have to tell them, which is really confusing to some people, is that Bitcoin has never been hacked. Ethereum has never been hacked. What's hacked is a piece of software owned by a third party, and that was what was hacked. That Bitcoin is still out there somewhere, but the third party that was holding on to that for you was hacked. Which, if Tovar will hold her pretty little wallet back up again, solves that problem, right? Yes, you need exchanges. You need exchanges, software, third parties, without going too deep, to buy Bitcoin. But you don't have to keep it with them. And so I tell people, if Bitcoin is part, or crypto of any kind, SmartFi, Ethereum, any of them are part of your exploring or savings plan, unless you're actively going to be like selling it anytime soon.
Sure.
It doesn't have to sit on one of those third parties exchanges. It can sit on what we call cold storage. So we've already talked about exchanges, and Tovar has shown her hardware wallet. So cold storage is just moving your crypto off of an exchange onto something like a hardware wallet or a piece of paper. Cold storage can be anything that is not accessible by the internet. And I won't complicate anything, but I'll tell you the coolest thing ever. Very early on, there was a company that did crypto art, and inside of that art were QR codes, addresses. So think of a crypto address like your bank account number. You
Sure.
could store crypto in your art. You could.
That's so cool.
You could send crypto to the address that's embedded in this piece of art. Like a Where's Waldo? Like, if you don't know it's there, you'll never know what it is. But I could have a picture on my wall that's holding 200 ETH, and no one would ever know it. So that's cold storage. Cold storage is literally just anything that is not accessible by the internet that you would
Is
have
that
to
like
plug it
cash?
in.
Is that the equivalent of like when
The
you take
equivalent
cash out of a bank?
literally shoving cash in your mattress. Yes.
So when you move it from regular trading
Exchange.
platform, exchange, then it goes to cold storage. Is it then no longer earning? Is it then no longer accruing value?
Well, no, it's Bitcoin so imagine you have a piece of gold, and that's a great example. A lot of people used to call Bitcoin digital gold. It's a little different. You have a piece of gold and you're holding it in your hand. And if you go look at the spot market for gold today, and it's $1,200, but you're holding that gold in your hand. Tomorrow that spot market might be $800. Well, that same piece of gold it's exactly the same. Just because it's not on an exchange, it's like a dollar. A dollar is a dollar. A Bitcoin is a Bitcoin. If you wanted to sell it, you would have to find a buyer. Usually that's done on an exchange. So the reason that's called cold storage is because the opposite, an exchange account or a wallet that is online, is a hot wallet. Meaning that you can move things back and forth, in and out, without having to plug it back into the internet so that you can send a transaction. So that's it. Moving money requires an internet connection when you're talking about crypto, or a peer-to-peer connection, Wi-Fi, internet, whatever. You do that same thing when you put your credit card into that little machine. It connects over the internet. It sends the data to the destination. It's exactly really for the consumer, the end user who isn't designing, developing. It's the exact same experience, only you're sending to a wallet address instead of someone's bank account. Like if you use Zelle, I don't know if you've ever used Zelle or Cash App. And technology in crypto is making those experiences of sending and storing and moving crypto more and more familiar, more and more like your traditional finance experiences.
So dollar cost averaging.
Yeah, which leads us to how you should buy crypto.
What's the best way to do it?
So dollar cost averaging, I understand it can be very complex, especially because, I hate to talk about the dollar, but for someone who is new to crypto and comparing crypto to dollars, I would say it would be equivalent to buying a little bit at a time each time. So let's say you purchased today and the price is $5, and tomorrow you put a little more in and it's at $3. Well, you just average down. So if you do that consistently, maybe it doesn't have to be daily, weekly, monthly, over time, you're going to see the money you put in average out and even out across the board. Does that make sense?
So there might be times where you do huge gains and then times where like it drops in the market, like Bitcoin goes down. But when you dollar cost average that, you're saying like it kind of meets in the middle where you're gaining.
You end up averaging out instead of buying all at one time. If you buy all at one time and you spent $5, then your average is just $5 because you bought once, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's very much like your 401k, right? If you've ever worked in corporate America, they take a certain amount and they buy into a fund, right? And the fund is made up of stocks, right? So it's the equivalent really of contributing to something, anything like that, where you set aside a certain amount of money. I say I'm going to invest, $50 into my retirement fund every paycheck. And so whether I'm buying stocks in a fund or whether I'm buying a basket of cryptos or one crypto, what that does is tell me it just so you don't care what the price is. So you're not watching, oh, I'm going to try and time the market. So I'm going to buy low, and that's going to frazzle you. It's not going to work out well. Dollar cost averaging, especially for long term, is I'm going to set aside this amount of money. It's irrelevant to me what the price is. Today, that'll buy me this much crypto. Tomorrow, it'll buy me this much crypto. Overall, I don't care what each purchase is. It's just that I keep contributing on a regular basis over and over.
Nice. How much time would you say that you need in order to be successful as far as crypto goes? 18 years, 25 years?
I think the minute you have a Satoshi in your possession, you are successful in crypto.
Oh, I like it. Okay. I like it.
How much time, do you think you should spend, just learning? If you're brand new, haven't heard anywhere, where should you go to start learning?
Well, I can say for me, I never stop learning. So I would say, it doesn't really matter where you start because it could be different from today than tomorrow. But you just never stop learning, especially if you're investing in different coins. Just always keep up with the latest news in crypto. Michelle, what do you think?
I think, again, it goes back to kind of Tovar mentioned earlier, or Halie, you mentioned earlier, finding a mentor. One of the best things to do is find somebody on crypto that you feel comfortable following and listening to. There's a lot of people out there that are super hyped up. I mean, look, Matt Damon is not a crypto guy. Matt Damon is an influencer. But there are so many people online, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Twitter, that regularly talk about crypto. I think you could just search, find a couple of people that blog or that do, podcasts or whatever, and follow them, because 99.999% of them will answer any question you have with incredible patience. And if you're really lucky, look for a Bitcoin or a crypto meetup in your town or nearby, because going and sitting down in person, it might seem a little overwhelming when these people are using this terminology you're not familiar with. But also, those people are the people that will sit down at a table with you, pull out their wallet, have you pull out and sit side by side, and just walk you through the mechanics of creating an account, buying or selling. And if you're really nice, those people will send you a little bit to get you kick-started. And that is a really great experience to have somebody in your area that will help you, that you can physically go talk to. And meetups are great.
Right.
Crypto meetups are really fun. You'd be surprised how diverse the crowd is these days.
And we have a lot of videos on SmartFi on the YouTube channel, and a bunch of news articles, resources on the portal as well. And if this is a success, maybe drop the questions below and we could answer them on a different episode. Yeah. But we are cutting it close on time. Yeah. I'm kind of sad this is over. I feel like I learned so much. Thank you everyone for watching. Maybe we'll see you guys next week. And if you got any value from this at all, just like, subscribe, comment, share it with a friend, share it with your mom.
And share your experiences. Like, what are your experiences? Tell us. I want to know. I want to hear about things people try. I want to know what they, I want to see with what we've learned and what we've been taught so far just in this episode. Like, what did you do with it? What did you, what's the application?
This is my favorite part of being in crypto. Just telling everyone else you should be in crypto, and let me help you get there.
We also have different social media accounts you can follow, and a Discord Telegram community that you can be involved in. Check out the links below, and we'll have another episode soon. See you guys next time.